Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is FXJR, and thank you for joining us on our first ever market targets for the week. I'll be walking you through how I analyze the Forex markets in order to decide what pairs I'm going to be interested in trading for the week. With that being said, let's get it started. Alrighty, so now we're hopping on to TradingView. TradingView is a platform I like to use in order to analyze my market targets for the week. And as you can see here on the right hand side, we have about 25 to 30 pairs I like to analyze before the market reopens on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I analyze these markets between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday while the markets are closed just to decide which are going to be my favorite pairs for the week and which ones are not. So as you can see here on the right hand side, I have them pretty organized. I have them organized by my favorites to the ones I'm going to be watching and the ones that I'm not interested in. I have them divided with three non-forex pairs that I just like to watch throughout the week, which is gold, Bitcoin, and helium. But besides that, I'm gonna go straight to my favorite pairs of the weeks, which this week I only have six. I usually have about 8 or 10, but I believe this week is a little bit slower than other weeks, which is totally fine. I don't care how many pairs I have on my favorite list as long as I have a few for the week. I'm satisfied because I just look for the best setups. I don't trade every single pair I have on my favorites list just because not all of them are going to give me the confirmations I'm looking for. I'm going to start off with AUD CAD, Euro CHF, NZD CAD, Euro NZD, CHF JPY, and CAD CHF. Those are my top six pairs for the week. And I also have on my just looking area, which is GBP NZD and Euro GBP, which are pairs I'm interested in, but not as interested as the top six I mentioned before. So I'm going to start off straight with AUD CAD. AUD CAD, I'm looking for a long on this one. This pair I actually already entered. I entered this pair at 9 p.m. Eastern Time after the first 4 hour candle closure. And as you can see here on the weekly, it did a nice double bottom. And then on the daily, you see this support level right here. It rejected it. So I caught that rejection. And then off the 4 hour and the smaller time frames, I got the confirmations I liked in order to enter. I'm not going to go too much in depth on why I entered this trade just because later on this week I am going to have a other series where I analyze all the trades I did enter for the week and I break down why I entered them and also if I did win them or not. So stay tuned this week later and I will be letting you guys know when I'm going to be posting that next video. So moving along to Euro CHF. Euro CHF is the next trade the next pair I am interested in trading for the week. I am looking for a short on Euro CHF. The weekly right now, last week had a blue pin bar looking candle, which is not a good candle, I would say, to close out for the week, especially when it was supposed to keep going to the downside. So that's something to keep in mind in order to take this trade, at least for myself. But if I go over to the daily time frame, the daily time frame has a pretty nice head and shoulders that it formed, and it is also rejecting this resistance area. But I do want some more confirmation of this resistance just because I did see the weekly last week and I did not like how it closed. The 4 hour right now is also bullish, so I still do not think this trade is ready for a short. I will be waiting for more confirmation. Until this daily candle does not close, I will not be interested in trading this. So I'll keep looking at this for the rest of the week, but I am looking for a short. Next up, I have NTD CAD. NZD CAD, I have looking for a short as well. If you can see here, I kind of see a head and shoulders forming on the weekly, which gives me the idea that I might be looking for a short, even though that I would consider this weekly setup bullish setup. But if I go over to the daily for me, it is bearish and it did have a bearish engulfing on Thursday and then a little slowdown candle on Friday of last week. Right now, the market did open up a bit bullish, so I'll keep watching this trade. It might be ready for tonight, might not. Pretty much depends on how the smaller time frames react. And I'll be watching it for sure for the next couple hours and during London, see if I get an entry or not. But I'm probably thinking I'm not going to get an entry tonight, most likely tomorrow. Euro NZD, I'm actually looking for a buy on this one, which is a bit, I'd say, risky, considering the weekly is very bearish and it is continuing a bearish trend after it did not break over this structure over here, switching the trend over to a bullish trend. But the daily is bullish completely, and it did try to already go to the upside with these two nice blue candles, and it did not succeed. So I will be looking for extra confirmations in order to even consider entering this long, but I am interested in a long and not a short on this trade. Next up, I have CHF JPY. CHF JPY, I'm interested in a buy. I'm interested in the buy, which is pretty obvious, but if you can see here the weekly time frame, it is showing us that this is at the highest it's ever been. It did have a rejection candle on the weekly last week, and it did break above this support last week, and it did already retest it, went to the upside, then went right back to the downside. So right now it did not close under this structure right here. I'm not going to enter this tonight at all, just because I want to make sure that this candle does not close under this structure, because if it does, I'd honestly consider removing this from my list and not trading it if this does close under this structure. So right now I'm interested in a long, but I will not be interested in this until tomorrow night. Now let's move on to CAD CHF. CAD CHF, I'm looking for a long. After all, I have this weekly trend as bullish. I have the daily right now, not completely bullish. I will need this candle to close above this structure in order for me to consider this bullish. So as soon as that happens tomorrow, if it does happen, I will be considering entering this trade after I get some sort of rejection off this support level. And I believe it's not even going to happen tomorrow night. It's probably going to happen on Tuesday night, maybe even Wednesday. So I'll keep a lookout for the rest of the week, see if I get any setups for a long. Then moving along to the pairs that I'm interested in, but I'm not going to be trading. So as you can see here, we already went through the six that I did like for the week, and the one that I'm actually already in, which is AUD CAD. So now we're going to be going to GBP NZD. GBP NZD is also a trade that cross correlates with Euro NZD. So I'm also looking for a buy on this one. As you can see, the weekly is a bit cleaner, even though that it is bearish. It did have a candlestick rejection that I love right here in order to enter a long. And then the daily also already switched over to the bullish trend last week. So that's a good sign as well. So I'll keep a good lookout on that one. And then I have Euro GBP. Euro GBP is looking good for a sell. The weekly looking good for a sell, so it can make a new structure to the downside. Um, if you see here on the weekly looks pretty clean, so looking good for a short. I wouldn't like trading these just because I haven't had the best experience with GPP pairs, so I'm always on the fence with them. But they do look clean this week. And now I'm gonna be pretty much just skimming through the rest of the pairs that I did not like this week, and I'll tell you why. Here, Euro AUD, it's pretty much at the bottom of a bearish trend. I would like to see this to break under this structure this week in order for me to consider even going long or short the following week. So right now, it's not something that I like to trade. It's not looking too clean. I did enter this last week. I'll go more into that later into the week when I do my trade review sessions. And now going to EuroCAD. EuroCAD, um, eh, it's just a trade that broke under this structure, even though that it's looking good for a long. I didn't like that it broke over this structure last week, making this trend for me bearish, even though that it's looking good for a long on the weekly and even on the daily. But just because of that, I rather not get into it. Next one is going to be NZD USD. NZD USD last week had a little double top formed here. This double top on a bullish trend usually indicates that it's going to go to the downside. So right now, I'm not considering a long or a short on this, even though that this for me is considered a bearish weekly trend. Not interested at all. USD CHF right now it is under this resistance level and it's rejecting it. It's gonna look good for a sell, even though that the daily market right now is, I mean, the daily time frame is bullish, but it's at one of the lowest points it's ever been at. I don't like trading that. I rather have it move up to this area right here where I have more support and resistance for me to enter this trade or even consider entering it. So I do not have it on my list for this week. AUD CHF, it is on a weekly trend to the upside. I would like to see more of a retracement happen in order for me to keep going with a trend for a long or even consider a counter trend trade. But right now, the trend is just going, but it went a little bit weaker the past couple weeks. So right now, I'd rather just watch this one and not get in it. Next up, I have NZD JPY that I did not enter last week. I entered it, I won it. The week before that, I did enter and I won it again. I believe that I'm not going to have the best luck with it 3 times in a row. So I rather just, keep it on the sidelines and see what it does for next week. And now I'm looking at AUD NZD, AUD NZD, top of a trend that hasn't been there in about like 18 years. So it's been a long time. It is right now on a resistance area. So I would not consider trading this one, even though that it looks pretty clean to go to the downside. But just because it looks clean to go to the downside doesn't mean that it is. I'm not going to be considering this trade this week or possibly even the week after. Next up is AUD USD. AUD USD cross correlates with AUD CAD, which I have already entered. They pretty much move almost the same way. I decided to go with AUD CAD for the week because it's just a cleaner in my eyes than AUD USD. But to be honest, if anyone has this pair for the week on a long, I'd consider it a good prediction. So let's move along now to AUD JPY. AUD JPY, top of the top of the top. Not considering trading this at all. Don't know what's going to happen up here. USD CAD. USD CAD is on a bullish trend with a bearish retracement, which a nice slowdown candle from last week. It does have a bearish trend on the daily, but not good enough for me to even consider entering this on a long or a short for the week. I'll wait to see how this week turns out for me to consider entering it. Then I have CAD JPY. CAD JPY, didn't see anything clean with this trade. I looked at the daily. Daily is pretty high above any structure that it's rejected in the past. I have the 4 hour with a good 4 hour AOI, but to be honest, I do not want to get into CAD JPY without a daily AOI. So without a daily support and resistance, I do not want to enter trades, and that is one of the reasons why I'm not entering CAD JPY. Euro JPY, oops, Euro JPY, same thing. Don't have a real rejection level, and it's really high up in its history. So it's at the very top, and it doesn't seem to want to keep going up since for 2 weeks it just bounces right back into the support level. So not interested in it. I have Euro USD that is bearish on the weekly and bullish on the daily. I see this as a rejection off this resistance level going to the downside. But this is a counter trend trade, which is risky, so I rather not get into it this week. I have cleaner setups. Then I have USD JPY. It's just been consolidating between these support and resistance level. Very unpredictable. Do not want to get in this until I get a nice break to the downside or to the upside. Then I have GBP CAD. GBP CAD, same thing. It's just been ranging in this area on the weekly. So you have to be very, very, very alert on how you're going to enter this trade because pretty much is very choppy. As you can see here, you don't even know what area you consider resistance or support because it could be anywhere. Same thing with GBP USD. It is looking good for a long, but at the end of the day, on the weekly, it's hitting a resistance level. Um, it's pretty much a ranging, consolidating market going up and down. I do not like this pair at all. I always keep it on the bottom of my list. I've never even entered a trade on this pair, but I know a lot of people like this pair. I honestly try to ignore it as much as possible. GPB JPY is also at a high point in its history. Not interested in it at all. I have GPP AUD, which I would just like to see a bit more structure, a bit more rejection off this resistance level. And same thing here with the daily time frame. So I don't think it's ready for me this week, maybe next week or the week after. Then I have GPP CHF with a horrible setup, I believe, for myself. It's just pretty much on a bullish trend with a resistance level right here that it needs to break and retest. But every time that it's been here, it goes to the downside. So let's see what it does this week, and then I'll like to see if I consider it for the week after. All right, so that concludes the very first market targets. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and share. See you guys next time.